Hey everyone, I'm back with a tutorial on how to do a 4-stitch wide sucker for the Tentacle shawl. We're still using our US size 6 needles and our worsted weight yarn. Yellow is still our F color, orange is still our B color. I'm going to start by knitting the first 3 stitches in this row, as directed by the pattern, before starting the first 4-stitch wide sucker. And having knitted those first 3 stitches, I'm going to start by using our F side strand to do 2 yarn overs, and then to knit into that next F stitch. Then we bring both strands to the front and purl in the usual way, and we repeat this for a total of 4 times. So yarn over, knit, both strands to the front without crossing them over or twisting them around each other to purl, both to the back, yarn over, knit, purl, yarn over, knit, and purl. So it looks like this from the front and like this from the back. That's your bottom row. I'm going to pause this for a sec and knit back around to where we'll pick up our middle one row. Alright, now I've finished knitting to the end of that F side row, flipped it around, and I've knitted the B side row up until that first run of 3 F stitches. To continue from this point, we're going to need a cabling needle, or my preferred, cheaper, grippier alternative, the bobby pin. We're going to start by taking the first of these 3 stitches and slipping them onto our cabling needle. Onto the cabling needle and off of the left needle, and then simply dropping these 2 yarn overs. Slide them completely off the left needle so that we have a nice extra long F stitch. Leaving that to the front of the piece, we then knit the B stitch in the usual way, and repeat. We slip that first F stitch onto our cabling needle and off of the left needle, and then we drop both of the yarn overs and then knit the B stitch. Slip, drop, knit, slip, drop, knit, and finish the row. As you can see, that gives us 5 B stitches next to each other because we've pulled out the F stitches that would have gone between them. On the front side of the row, we have those 4 stitches held on the cabling needle, and we have our strand of F yarn, which we've just drawn along to the front, making sure to keep it fairly loose so that it doesn't cause the fabric of the piece to pinch. Now, we're ready to pick up, knitting on what will be, or knitting toward the 4-stitch middle 2. So, after knitting that in the usual way, we are faced with a run of 4 B stitches all side by side. This is the easy row. We simply purl all 4 of them, carrying the F strand to the front, and again taking care not to pull it too tight. Now that we've finished knitting those 4 stitches, we simply resume double knitting to the end of the row, which I'll do now. Alright, now I've finished knitting middle row 2 all the way to the end, and it looks like this, with your 4 long stitches hanging to the front and 2 strands of the F colored yarn drawn along the front, not too tightly. And on the B side, I've knitted up to where we begin the top row. Which includes the first B stitch in this run of 5. We start by knitting the next B stitch in the usual way, and then we take all of these stitches that we'd slipped onto the cabling needle and slip them back onto the left needle, like so. Just in the same order they were in previously. Then we begin knitting, or we begin purling all 4 of them together, slipping the right needle through them, wrapping the yarn around, pulling it out, but we don't drop those 4 stitches off of the left needle. We keep them there, and we wrap our F strand of yarn around our right needle from back to front, making a new loop over the right needle. And then we repeat that, purling into these 4 stitches without dropping them, wrapping the F strand around, and then we drop those 4. Then we knit these 3 B stitches that are all next to each other in the usual way, pretty much. There aren't any F stitches interspersed between them, of course. Not yet anyway. And then we end the row in the usual way. So, our sucker looks approximately like that, and our B side looks approximately like that. We'll start by double knitting the first 3 stitches in the usual way to get up to the 4-stitch above maneuver. So, once we've done that first little bit of double knitting, we've got our 4 stitches together in the middle in the F strand with 2 B stitches on either side, and we just need to rearrange these stitches a bit so that they alternate again. And we do that by slipping these 2 B-side stitches onto our cabling needle, dropping them off of the left needle and holding them to the back. Then we knit the first F stitch in the usual way and slip one of those B stitches, the rightmost one, back onto our left needle and purl it in the usual way. Knit, and then slip the other B stitch back onto the left needle so we can purl it. Knit the next F strand, and then take this F stitch that was next to it, slip it onto the cabling needle and hold it to the front while we purl the next B stitch, and then place it back on the left needle so we can knit it. And then simply double knit the remainder of the row in the usual way. Or otherwise do what the pattern tells you. At the end, you'll have a sucker a little bit smaller than our 5-stitch across ones, with that cute little spiral to it. The stitches on the row will be alternating and ready for you to continue double knitting them in the usual way. And the back side of the piece will look like a totally ordinary bit of double knitting.